And we want to understand what is happening right now in Israel, and basically we want to talk about the Israeli Arab society. Who is the Israeli Arab society? What is the role of the Israeli Arab society in this wave of terror or in this wave of violence? Ayman Sikseck has the latest for us.
1.6 million Arabs live in Israel, according to the Israeli Statistics Agency in 2013. But 2 weeks of intense attacks on Israelis, mainly by residents of East Jerusalem, have once again categorized all of Israel's Arab population as part of one community, and as such, part of the same threat.
Here people who want to live with you, but you don't can to like us Democrats, we can outside to say we want peace or something. Because if he told like this, he kill him. The Arabic kill Arabic.
But who makes up these 1.6 million people? Muslims make up the largest part of the Arab community in the country and account for over 1.3 million people. 20% of them live in Jerusalem. Those who live in East Jerusalem are under Israeli sovereignty, but largely identify as Palestinians. East Jerusalem, the highly contested part of the city, is also where the perpetrators of most of the recent stabbing attacks originate from. For those who want to carry on with their everyday lives, concerns have shifted from financial hardship to personal safety.
Regarding the economic situation, it is no longer important. The security situation is far more important these days than the economic situation. The biggest worry is no longer work, it is the security situation. You leave your home and you can't wait to get to the shop. You leave the shop and you can't wait to get to your home.
The situation is equally complicated for the Israeli Druz. Numbering some 140,000 residents in Israel, most of them serve in the Israeli army. But around 30,000 are residents of the Golan Heights, a highly sensitive region between Israel and Syria. Though they are considered Israeli citizens, some of them identify as Syrian. But even for the loyalists, a crisis was inevitable when Israel began caring for the Kurdish fighters who came through its borders as a result of the battles in Syria. For the Druze living in Israel, this was a betrayal of their loyalty to their homeland. But perhaps the most disenfranchised Muslim community in Israel is the Bedouin community. Totaling around 280,000 in 2013, large parts of the Bedouin community live in settlements considered illegal by the State of Israel. The most controversial of which is Al-Araqib, a Bedouin village in the Negev raised more than a dozen times by Israeli police in the past year.
They claim Bedouins are nomads, that they shouldn't have just one place to live. But today it's Al-Araqib, and tomorrow it will be Tel Aviv.
The residents of Al-Araqib symbolize to a great extent the struggle of the Arab community in Israel at large. Faced with tense relations with the state, they too have nowhere else to go.
Yes, let's try to understand with the gentleman that I have right now here in the studio, what is the situation of the Israeli Arabs and what is the role that they are taking in this current wave of conflicts, let's say. Ayman Sikseck, I-24 News correspondent, thank you very much for coming.
Good evening.
And also Sami Abu Shehadeh, Secretary General at the Ballot Party, Tel Aviv, Jaffa. Good evening, thank you.
Good evening, thank you.
For coming. And Dr. Ramzi Halabi, economist and also an analyst on I-24 News. Thank you very much for coming. Let me start with you, Dr. Abu Shehadeh. I'm trying Mr. Abu Shehadeh, I'm trying to understand how come it's always deteriorating on both sides recently? Like what is happening on the West Bank immediately is reflecting to what is happening inside with the Israeli Arabs.
And this is very easy. Israel invented something that never existed, calls the Arabs of Israel, in order to divide the Palestinian minority inside Israel from the rest of the Palestinian people. All the time, people all the time say, and all the time behave like Palestinians. And then everybody is surprised. Israel is insisting on its lie that this Palestinian minority have no national identity. And from the Israeli point of view, from the official Israeli discourse, the Arab minority inside Israel are not part of the Palestinian people. This is why all the time there's a kind of this surprise. Why are they behaving like Palestinians? Now everybody knows that these are, and part of the Palestinian people. This is how the way people see themselves. This is their national identity. This is why what's happening is totally normal. And when you are killing their people, when their most sacred place, Al-Aqsa Mosque, is being all the time attacked, when there's a chance to change the status quo there, people will behave like part of these people.
But do you think really that what is happening right now on the streets is absolutely normal?
I think what's happening in the street, not just it's not normal, it is much less than what should happen. Because in Israel,
much less than what should happen?
Yeah, of course. First
of
all,
do you think that more people
statistically,
should be stabbed and more people should be killed and more people should be lose their lives because of this?
Who mentioned violence? And if you
But
ask me
this is what is happening right now.
La,
what do you mean?
First of all,
violence? This is what is happening right now on the streets.
Statistically, the Arab Palestinian minority inside Israel is the most and is the most quiet national minority all over the world. And in most of the political research lately done in the last 2 decades in political sciences all over the world, the main question is why is this national minority so quiet? And it's discriminated in all fields of life. And they are suffering in all fields of life. And there is racism towards them in everything. And they are politically very quiet. What I meant that they are not doing enough, I'm talking about only legal political behavior. I'm against violence. I don't think that violence is a good solution. Surely not in this balance of power. And if we will any time deteriorate into violence, those who will be paying a very high price will be the Palestinians, because Israel have total control of all the armed forces.
Well, maybe some Arabs inside Israel are being quiet politically because they do feel Israeli, contrary to what we are hearing right now. I think a lot of Arabs inside Israel do identify with their Israeli identity. We go to Israeli universities, we carry out our everyday lives within Israel, in Hebrew. We are part of Israeli society. I'm not sure that the Palestinian heritage and history are as big a part, or they constitute the entire part of our identity. I'm not sure of that at all, not for all of us. Maybe this is why we're not being dragged into violence or other politically volatile expressions.
You know, this is a specific...
I take the pragmatic axis, and I can tell you that today I participated in a conference with Arab and Jewish mayors, with the Interior Minister Silvan Shalom, and all of them talked about shared society, to make things together, to stop the violence, and they talked more about the budget and the 5-year plans and the way that we can live together for long. So I think that on the other side we have the extreme approach of people that want to make this a problem, maybe a religious war or something like that. But inside Israel, I think most of the Arab leadership, and I heard them talking now today, they want this kind of living together and make things together.
Do you see that? Because you see, you portrayed a picture right now that
Let me explain what is the difference between me and Mr. Sikseck. And most of the people who are talking about the Palestinian identity inside Israel do distinction between two things. First of all, your national and spiritual identity, to what do you affiliate spiritually, and then your technical daily life. In general, of course, the vast majority, not small minority, of the Palestinians in Israel, they don't have any other choice but to deal with the state of Israel, deal with the Israelis. They don't have any other choice, and technically, they do all these things. And Israel is a sovereign state.
Why do you think that it's technically? Why do you think, Mr. Abu Shehadeh, that it's technically? Why do you
I tell you what the polls say. It's not what I think.
Why do you think that the fact
polls,
that
we have a lot of public opinion polls who ask the people, okay,
who
in different things.
Who are you asking?
In general, they pick different number of people, depends on each poll, and you ask them about their how do they deal with their identity. in things that got to do with daily life.
But you know what you're doing right now.
And if you ask them if Palestine is playing football with Israel,
Mr. Abu
whom do
Shehadeh,
you want to win?
They
will tell you they want Palestine to win.
But what you're doing right now, Mr. Abu Shehadeh, what you're doing, Mr. Abu Shehadeh, what you're doing right now is also generalizing an entire society upon your own point of view. This is not how it happens on the field. On the field, you have different fractions. You have different views in the Arab society. You have left, you have right. You have some people who identify themselves with the state of Israel and some people who don't identify themselves with the state of Israel.
Which is bigger than 1 million people, you have a lot of different views.
Yes.
But still, there's a huge amount of research done when we are talking about the identity of the Palestinian minority inside Israel. There's a huge amount done also on the side inside the Israeli university. I'm telling you that in general, most of this research, and it's built mainly on public opinions, polls, says that the majority of the youth inside the Palestinian society, inside Israel, when they deal about with their identity, they deal with it as a Palestinian identity. Of course, there is part of these people who think that they are Israeli. Of course, there are people who don't care about the both identities, not the Palestinian, not the Israeli identity. They want to be part of something much bigger. And there's a lot of different opinions. But in general, the majority, this is how they define themselves.
Yeah, maybe the other people who wants to be part of something bigger are maybe the more extreme part.
Well, even if we, and I see myself as defining myself as Palestinian as well, but that doesn't entail many of the things that Mr. Abu Shehadeh said. I mean, this was also the point of view of Balad to a great extent, and in the recent elections, because of the new restrictions on the percent which you need to get into the government, all the Arab parties had to join together to get in. So I think there's loss of support for this kind of view within the Arab community in Israel.
Not only loss of support, the Arab sector needed to actually, like Ayman is saying, combine forces in order to be and to get a chance to have an influence. And yet there is an extreme range on the Arab leadership, because at the end of the day, we are talking and not doing enough for the economy aspect, for the education, for the infrastructure, for our cities, for our own society itself.
Yeah, today the mayor of Nazareth, for example, said that we have to take the lead and to work to improve our situation in this country, instead of let the members of the Knesset to do the work. But if we are talking about the identity definition, so I define myself as Arab, Israeli, and I served in the army about 20 years. So even in this situation, if I go everywhere, the Jewish public cannot distinguish between me and Sami and other people.
And me, yes.
Yes, so in this atmosphere, in the emergencies, we have a lot of problems. So we need to calm, we need to relax the situation in order to talk together and to solve the problems.
Mr. Abu Shehadeh?
I don't think that the problem between the Israelis and the Palestinians is misunderstanding, Yalusi. I don't think that the problem between also the Palestinian leadership and the Israeli leadership is misunderstanding. Both sides knows exactly what does the other want. It's not a problem of language or not a problem of that people are not understanding each other. Everybody knows exactly what does the other want. Most of the Palestinian leadership are fighting for a two-state solution, and they want East Jerusalem to be their. Things are clear. The Israelis are refusing. All of the Arab world came twice in the last decade.
We're not talking about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. We are talking right now about a situation that at the end of the day, when this wave of violence will end, we, the Israelis, will live inside Israel, the Israeli Palestinians, the Palestinians, Israeli Arabs, define it as you want, we will end up eating the S word, I will say it, I won't say the word itself. We will end up eating it because all the incitement of what is happening inside the Israeli Arab society also, and we cannot ignore it.
Or because you don't want to see that you are living in a racist society built on race, and you are discriminated because you are Palestinian.
Okay, yeah, I'm seeing it and I'm watching it, believe me, each and every day. We're going out for a break. 10 minutes update, and then we will be back. Don't go anywhere.